Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 3-0 Take, where we talk all things Major League Baseball. Here's Kyle Corwin and Nate Reyes. It all starts right now.
Oh, welcome back to the 3-0 Take, presented by SeatGeek. This is episode 486. I'll be your host, Kyle Corwin. I'm here with my co-host, Nate Reyes. Nate.
What up, party people? 486, man. We're getting up there.
Yeah, I hesitated there because I feel like we've been cranking out episodes, and I was like, did we already do 46?
Noticed a little hesitation. That's cool, though.
You know, in the 486 episodes we've done, I think I've maybe messed that up once.
You're an impressive specimen. I know that. I
know
that.
Very methodical with my notes, and I have a system to ensure that never happens again. Because that was rough. When that happened the one time, I'm like, well, nobody really notices, nobody really cares, but that's embarrassing, you know?
Yeah, it's not a good look. What are we gonna do for 500, man? 500, we got to go all out.
We have to open it up to some people. Get some people on here.
I like that. I'd like that.
Get some guests on here.
Yeah,
because that's what it's all about. It's about everybody else. We're just here talking ball. It's the people that we bring on, the people that listen, that makes all of this worth it. Speaking of it being worth it, is it going to be worth it for me at this trivia night that I'm about to go to? If I go and there's a baseball question that I botch. Like, how humiliating would that be if I botched a baseball trivia question?
I mean, it's tough to recover. You can't really come back from that.
If
I can't trust you as a source on my team, if you have an opinion on another answer in a different subject afterwards, I'm going to hesitate there. So I'm going to be like, how credible of a source is this after?
If the baseball guy doesn't even know baseball.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? If he can't get that layup.
Okay. Baseball guy to baseball guy. Is there like a year going back where there's like a cutoff where it's like sort of understandable maybe if I don't get it? Like, I mean, if it's like post 2000, it's like, okay.
Yeah, I feel like, post 2000 we should have covered. I struggle with the 80s. I'll be honest. I struggle with 70s and 80s. Even 60s. I think there's like a big gap there. I think we do well with like the oldies, the older guys.
Yeah.
When you go 40s, 50s. But like there's like a 20, 30 year period where I don't do so well. You know what I mean? Even like the early 90s, I don't think.
I'm
like
nervous,
90 to 93, I'm just like...
I'm nervous.
That strike that was in there, it's like, I kind of struggle in that area. As far as like trivia type questions, but I don't know, man.
T-minus like 2 hours and some change until this trivia night.
You been running any trivia apps? You've been running any quizzes?
No, I'm just
going to stay sharp.
Just going to go in cold and just hope I don't embarrass myself. I'll have to report back. I think you might
regret that. Yeah.
I'll have to report back if that ends up being the case.
I'd like to know.
I'll report back.
Yeah.
A little bit to report back on this Juan Soto situation. Now, how much you want to look into it, that's up to you, Nate, and the listeners / viewers. Take it as you will. But the little that we do know, according to John Heyman, shout out for the block on Twitter, John. The known teams that have called about Juan Soto, according to John Heyman, the Yankees.
Crazy.
The Mets.
Never thought that.
The Dodgers.
Wow.
The Blue Jays. The Red Sox.
Dagger. That would really hurt.
The Giants.
Duh, they call every year. to the top guy.
Do I have a drum roll on here? I don't have a drum roll on here. That's a shame. In lieu of a drum roll, how about John Kenzie Noel's home run against the Yankees in the ALDS?
No.
Feliz Navidad! Feliz Navidad!
You really need to replace that.
I gotta get a drum. I mean, that's the best I have in lieu of a drum roll. Finally on the list here for teams to call about Juan Soto, the Tampa Bay Rays. He was waiting to use that. He's been waiting to use that.
That's a good one. I like that one. I'm gonna keep that stored. Oh, yeah, that's a fake call, I think.
Yeah, let's go ahead and look at this list. Let's break this list down, shall we? Let's just go ahead and rule the Rays out.
Fair. Done.
Is that fair?
I already did it. Mentally, I was already there. Already moved on.
Let's go ahead and rule out the Giants. Can we go ahead and rule out the Giants?
I don't know if we can. I want to. I just think that they're going to offer the exact dollar amount. I could see the reports now. I could see the notifications now, like a few weeks after he signs wherever he is. And there's a little report that comes out where like the San Francisco Giants offered the same dollar amount, the same structure, like the same that what he accepted. But I do get the vibe that he may be done with the West Coast. Like that short little stint in San Diego, just he seems like an East Coast guy. You know, closer to the DR, everyone at home can watch at the same time. Like that just kind of gives me at least some comfort thinking he'll stay on that side. But I don't know.
It's, you know, similar to the way that I really up until this postseason felt about the Mets. It's the same kind of thing for me, where it's like the track record. Look at the track record.
They don't excite me at all.
Mets fans were like, why don't you believe in us? It's like, you've given us no reason to believe in you. And then what did they do this postseason? They went out and did something for once.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the Giants. Offseason after offseason, free agent market after free agent market, swing and a miss.
Yeah.
Offered more than the leading bidder or the ultimate suitor. Offered the same amount. Offered opt-outs. Like
desperate at this point.
I just don't until the Giants can land. What's an example? Like I don't want to say like an Aaron Judge, but like maybe a tier below Aaron Judge until they can land, or maybe like just below Aaron Judge, until they can land a player of that status. I in no situation, in no scenario, do I feel that a team such as the Giants are going to be capable of landing a guy like Aaron Judge, as we already saw, swing and a miss. Even more so, a guy like Juan Soto, who's going to probably pull in twice the amount on his contract.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the Blake Snell thing was even more embarrassing because it was like he literally just used you, and you accepted it. You agreed to that,
and that's
you
not
agreed to being used and thrown away.
Right, and that's.
You don't even value yourself. You know what I mean?
There's a lesson to be learned there.
I think there is.
There's a relational lesson to be learned there.
Self-value. Know your worth.
Giants, be proud of who you are. Look in the mirror and recognize that you don't have to stoop to such levels to where you get used around, you get tossed around like a rag doll. It's embarrassing. Pick yourself up. You're better than that. But even in that situation, Blake Snell, it's not even a good comparison because of the way that the contract was crafted, the length of the contract. I'm talking like a long-term star player. Until they can do something like that.
Who's next to like come
Juan
out
Soto's
that's
not
like
gonna be that guy.
under control but hasn't signed like an extension early, young, promising? Who can we say?
What's the
Who can we say? Say like
would that? No,
I'm thinking hitter. Are you thinking hitter?
Yeah. I typed in 2025 free agents, but I guess I would have to type in 2026.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. You're a free agent in 2024.
Yeah.
Are you not?
Like a Vladdy, maybe?
Vladdy?
Like a Vladdy signing would get you.
Yeah. Perfect.
Would
there
kind
you go.
of end that argument.
There you go. If
Yeah.
the Giants could get a guy like Vladdy Jr.,
Like a
first.
Boba one of the two.
yeah, you then put to rest that argument of like you swing and miss on every top tier name or
Yeah.
upper echelon type name. If they could do something like that, okay, then I'd believe they'd be capable of getting a guy like Juan Soto. Unfortunately, Juan Soto's a free agent right now. So
Yeah.
we have zero, we don't have any situations or examples like that to go off of for the Giants. So
I don't want to go there as a hitter. There's no appeal.
I don't.
There's no appeal. You get like 1 month of good weather.
I mean, I'm an East Coast guy and I'm not the free agent here, but like personally, I wouldn't want to go to the West Coast. The only team I would want to go play for on the West Coast would be
San
the
Diego.
Padres.
Yeah.
He's already been there. He's
I
been
don't see
been
that.
there, done that.
I don't see that coming back around. It would be crazy though to like get the haul from the Yankees and then swoop him back.
It doesn't feel right.
It doesn't. I concur.
Doesn't feel like a fit. One of these other teams, minus the Rays, I could see any of these other teams happening before.
Hear
the
me
Rays.
out here. Can we take the Rays out and put the Mariners in? Why not?
Now what we're forgetting to address here is the Boris effect. The game that resurfaces every offseason that Scott Boras plays of using these other teams as pawns. I don't know why we fall for this every offseason. Like, the Red Sox are not a serious suitor. They're not.
Do you think the Dodgers are?
I put nothing past the Dodgers. So I can't sit here and say that they are or they're not. The Dodgers have blown me away with what they've shown that they're willing and capable of doing. Because if you remember, what
That
was
feels
it?
weak. That feels like Kevin Durant going to the Warriors. That it just feels soft.
Yeah, I think where the Dodgers are at now, I'm like, okay, you guys went out and balled out. You got these big names, but like, save some for the rest of the league.
That's where I get lost a little bit because like I understand the desire to build some kind of dynasty. But I think the way owners, at least mentally, operate is that like it's almost a relief to go get that trophy so that you can like save money for the next few years and not hear everyone complaining. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like, okay, now we can back off. Now we don't have to be so aggressive financially. And we can see what this core does. If they run into stuff, we can continue to try and trade and fill in gaps at the deadline and, you know, sneak out a couple more trophies during this window. But like, we don't have to go drop another. I mean, he's going to get at least 40 a year. At least.
I mean, that's another question. Can we draw the line at like 650, do we think? I mean, there's no way he's getting Ohtani money. Because you also have to keep in mind that Juan Soto is not going to defer this contract.
Is it, if you do 650 and you go 12 years, that's 54 a year.
Well, all the estimates that I've seen are north of 12 years, which I think
to what?
I mean, that's just insane. Like I've seen 13, I've even seen 14, which I get it. He's
Go to
young,
14.
but like, what are we?
I mean, that's still 46 a year. 14 years.
14 for 650?
If you did 650. So even if you brought it down to 600 over 14 years, it's 42.
Yeah, which for Juan Soto, I get.
A nice round number is 612 would get you 50 a year. There's just, I like round even numbers that gets you there.
You're saying 600 over 12 is 50. Yeah.
Which is nuts.
That's nuts,
nuts.
dude. You, like with Ohtani, not to keep going back to Ohtani, but like with Ohtani, you have the pitching element, you have the international marketability, and sure, you have that with Soto to a degree, but not nearly to the same level. Like that should be well understood at this point.
My fear of the Mets getting him is because it's East Coast, right? We just talked about how we think he prefers the East Coast, and you're getting out of shadows.
That's the biggest thing.
You're
I
bigger
think,
than
for us,
everyone there. Even if they bring back Pete, you're bigger.
Of course.
So when you go to LA, you're back on the West Coast. And you're not bigger than Ohtani as far as shadow goes. If you're not bigger than Judge shadow, you're not bigger than Ohtani shadow. On a marketability type, branding personal type thing, like you're not going to overshadow that. It just feels, I hate it, but the Mets do feel right. The Mets do feel right because they're going to be able to afford every dollar. They're on the East Coast. There's no shadow. It's his team. He immediately shows up and it's his team. As great as he looked as a Yankee, as great of a year as he had, as beloved as he was, as much as he loved it, maybe, it wasn't his team. And that's why I think that's why the Mets they check every box. They check every box. And I'd hate it. I really would. And I'm sure baseball would love it because that like really just dumps fuel right on the fire of what's been a pretty dull rivalry between the Yankees and the Mets. That really just ignites it up again. Checks a lot of boxes.
Well, Steve Cohen sure thinks so. A report came out today that said that he is going out to California to meet with Soto and Boris next week. And call me crazy, this a deal of this size, a deal of this magnitude, probably 9 times out of 10 is probably running its course up until the beginning of March. I don't know.
I think it's done quick.
I'm like sort of optimistic here that we know who Juan Soto is going to be playing for by
I think
end of the year. Yeah,
I agree. I think Scott Boras is trying to put all that stuff to bed of last year of waiting too long for his big guys.
Yeah.
And I think something quick. I think it taught him a lesson if there's such a thing. Then it kind of puts to bed any other, conversation of players not wanting to be there or going to other agencies. I think that ends that.
Yeah, I mean, even a guy of Scott Boras' stature, like he took a hit. He took a hit last offseason. And you saw with the sound bites, the quotes from current clients that cut ties with him once the season got going, they made it known that they were not happy with him. And even with his resume, like it's similar to baseball, man. It's like you're only as good as what you're able to do for me next. And if Scott Boras has any additional fall off, like he already is in the process of trying to maintain / repair his image. I would think, because you got to look around the league. These teams are calling his bluff, man. They're
a little bit.
They're not putting up with the nonsense anymore.
And I think this is almost one, at least for a little while, probably his last massive client.
Sure.
You know, like you're not going to see another Soto anytime soon. It's going to be a little bit. So he's really got to do well here. I'm talking with Boris. Like he's got to do well. He can't mess up because we saw how he managed that next tier, or even the tier below that, you know, with Snell and Montgomery. And Bellinger. Talk Toronto to me. What do you think? What a slap in the face that would be to your young core, huh?
Yeah. Selfishly, the Toronto just doesn't move the needle for me. And like you want to talk like Soto looking for a team where it could be his. Not only is he getting the team, he's getting the country. And I know that that's the consistent talking point when it comes to the Blue Jays, but that's the reality of it. And rarely are the Jays in the mix for a name of this kind. Whether or not you want to believe Heyman, whether or not you want to think that, you know, maybe Boris is at work here trying to get as many quote unquote bidders at the table, that's a personal choice. But I just, from a baseball, to go back to the marketability, it just, I don't know if Soto being kind of, I hate to say it, but sort of like stuffed up in Canada, there's just something that doesn't really do it for me. And there's few, I mean, outside of like Ohtani and Judge and guys of that tier, there aren't really any guys that are like you said, that are coming down the pipe that are going to demand such a contract. And I think this is an opportunity for Soto, for Boris, and really for baseball, sort of as a bystander, like the baseball world, to maybe see a guy of this status end up somewhere that could really move the needle for the sport.
Yeah.
And I just don't think Toronto is that place.
What a way to argue to bring back your, you know, your Bo Bichette's and your Vladdies. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm going to sandwich Juan Soto in between you two and let you hit every day in a better position than you ever have. But the problem is that, like, even if they go budget with them, both of them, you got to think at least $25 million a year for each of them. So now you're talking $100 million between three guys. Is that team and roster configured well enough to sustain that financially and build around that? Like, that's what I'm saying about the Mets, is that like that's not the only move they're going to do. They've already said they're getting starting pitching, and we all know that they're in the Soto Sweepstakes. So it's like they're planning on going at it. I just watched what the Dodgers did, and they're saying we can do that too. We were almost there. You know what I mean? So, and especially when you have, you know, some young guys in control that are contributing, it's just hard to see any other fit being the same outside of the argument that, you know, he had his career year as a Yankee.
Right.
That's the only Yankee argument.
Yeah, and like staying in the AL East, to answer your question, like the Jays, the Red Sox, I feel like if those are legitimate contenders here in the Soto Sweepstakes, I think that they would just be better suited, given the state of those organizations, to take, kind of like what you and I were talking about with that video that came across our feeds recently, where he's talking about, forgive me, I don't remember who posted it, but the guy was talking about specifically for the Yankees, but to me it applies for the Blue Jays and Red Sox in this conversation based on the list of teams that Heyman put out. Those two teams, in my mind, would be much better suited to take the money, if it's legitimate, and distribute that amongst just a laundry list of names that could better improve your chances of making a run. Like, you're not necessarily in a position to just go out and get Soto and call it an off season. Like, you need the Red Sox, well documented. We're going to touch on it here in just a sec. You need starting pitching. You absolutely need starting pitching. Last I checked, Juan Soto doesn't pitch. That doesn't help you. So just again, I don't think it's they're a legitimate contender here. I think this is just Heyman or Boris using Heyman as the mouthpiece yet again. But if it is, I think the Reds, like both Jays and the Red Sox, are much better suited to look elsewhere, utilize that money.
I genuinely think I'm not even going to pick a team or needs, but I'm going to say add $20 million to your yearly budget of what you would spend on a Soto. So let's just ramp it up to 60 mil. I think depending on how you structure those years, that could get you a Snell, Bregman, and an Adames. I think you could get all three. And if you get a front end rotation and your left side infield taken care of, and again, like I'm not choosing a specific team and saying these are their needs. I doubt all three of these guys would go to the same team, but that's the same dollar amount. And so at a certain point, like you have to weigh what a generational talent is going to provide on his own versus these other holes that need to be plugged. And every team has holes. Every team. So it's really hard to imagine saying that the Soto signing is worth it. As a Yankee fan, I've said this before. That's kind of how I feel. As much as I loved it, as well as he did, I'm actually okay if we miss out on it. And the Mets, go do what you've been so dying to do lately, and Pete Alonso will be a Red Sox after that.
Speaking, don't you put that evil on me. The Mets. Speaking of the Mets, not only are they interested in Juan Soto, they've checked in on Garrett Crochet, as have the Red Sox.
As have half the league, I'd say.
You know, I mean, obviously we have no way of knowing this for sure, but if I had to guess, I think more teams were turned off by the whole extension demand.
You think so?
Than we might give credit to, because I don't know, man. There's just, and I've said this before. This may come back.
Such a stupid ask. I know I've said it before. It's so dumb.
I know. And this very well could come back to bite me for sure and make me look like an idiot. But there's just something about this Crochet situation that just does not sit right with me. And I don't know if it's underlying potential risk for injury. Like I don't know if it's an ego thing. Again, going back to this whole extension demand thing. Like I get it. It's a business. Look out for you. Look out for what's best for your future. I understand all that. But it just seems awfully early in your career to be making these sort of demands.
Yeah.
And I just don't know.
What if you don't like it there?
That's what, yeah.
What if you hate it there?
And, God forbid for Crochet's sake, what if you try stretching this starter thing out long term and it just doesn't pan out, and it ends up.
I think it ultimately shows like his lack of faith in his own. If this is his request or his agency's request, I think it shows a lack of faith in his own health.
That's what this all goes back to. It's like if you're trying to buy a house and the person that's trying to sell you the house is like, hey, everything's great. Don't worry. It looks great. Just come on, sign in the papers, and we'll be on our way getting you set up in this brand new, wonderful house. It's like,
you'll be out of here by Friday.
It's like, hold on, pump the brakes. Can I look around? Can I just check out the rooms, just see how things are first before we rush into something like this? And I just feel like Crochet and his camp are just sort of navigating this a little too aggressively. It's especially given the lack of body of work. You can look back to last year, sure, but I'm just saying, like it still just seems too early. And like I said, it could come back to bite me. But
are the Red Sox is this just not deja vu?
I'm in regards to
Chris Sale.
Stale, yeah. Well, that we got a ring out of that. So
I think Chris Sale had less question marks at the time. I think
For
there
sure,
was
for
less
sure, yeah.
worry around Chris Sale than there is with Crochet right now.
yeah, it was post World Series where it was like, okay,
Yeah.
this just isn't the answer clearly,
Yeah.
but thanks for the ring. And that's I still stand by that. Like,
Yeah.
was I frustrated beyond belief with the way that shook out?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was like,
Right.
I'm done with the Sale experiment. Stop trotting him out there every year saying like this is finally going to be a clean slate of health for him. It never was.
Yeah.
Whether it was his fault or not, whatever. But
Yeah, show me who's your big first base prospect?
prospect. You're talking about Cassis?
No. Oh, you had another one. Was he a first baseman?
base? No, we got Marcelo Meyer, we got Roman Anthony, Kyle Teal. He's behind a dish. I don't.
All right, we'll throw in Bobby Dahlbeck,
Oh, Bobby Dahlbeck's gone.
and you need more big leaguers tossed into that deal. I'm assuming the White Sox are going to want some more big leaguer.
Dahlbeck's not part of the organization anymore.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, he's a free
Arb's
agent.
already up, huh?
No, they DFA'd him, and then I don't remember how it shook out, but he's no longer with the team.
Oh. Well, just continue to clear space for Pete Alonso. I think that's the way it is. Trade for Crochet.
No,
Sign
you know a
Pete
guy that I
Alonso.
want. You know that I got a guy that I want, and I know he's had his question marks with health and all that. But Max Fried, Red Sox are very much in on Max Fried. So I'm reading, and I legitimately believe that. I'm like, okay,
I like Max Fried.
yeah, we're not talking Soto money, obviously, but you do need starting pitching, and it's more than time to make a splash.
And it's perfect because it comes at probably a lower budget. I think a high ceiling, lower budget. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna have a smaller dollar amount than what we thought a few years ago. I think he's cheaper. But
Yeah,
you've
I would agree.
seen what he's capable of. So there's a higher reward there. It seems like a perfect fit.
Speaking of fits, where do you like Corbin Burnes at?
I've kind of gone all over the place with this, honestly.
Is it me, or do I feel like Orioles fans have pretty much ruled out a reunion? Because I'm reading
weird.
I'm reading reports today that say that speculate that the Orioles would be the top fit right now.
It's a little strange, huh?
I don't know why, if you're the Orioles and bringing Rubenstein in to take over business, why all of a sudden you would have no faith in Burnes returning. Doesn't make any sense.
I agree. I really don't know.
He's looking at a $200 million is what's been reported. He's whether it's seeking or expected to get, it's around that 200 plus million mark.
I don't know if I have a spot. I mean, what do you think?
This is one that seems less obvious for me. Like Crochet, for some reason, even though we said what we said about, like the question marks around him, he just seems the short list seems much shorter than what Burnes is working with.
Yeah. I really don't know. I don't know if I even have like a good guess. I mean, if you're the Mets and if you're Steve Cohen and you just want to, lay the law down and put everyone on notice, you try to knock both of those out in a week. Get both of them. And do the press conference together. I remember when the Yankees did that with in 2009 when it was Teixeira, CC, and AJ Burnett. Boom, here you go. Here's where we're going. And it's a big power move, dude. I would do it.
I like that.
They need that.
I'm kind of with you. I don't know if I have like a number one destination for Burnes, but I would probably think he stays on the East Coast because the thing that we're talking about here it's sort of, I mean, I know all these guys aren't identical in terms of production, value, contract, all that, but a lot of these names are sort of plug and play. Like if you, and we've seen the way it pans out with teams, and or we've seen the way that that it has panned out for teams in previous off seasons where, you know, swing and a miss on this guy, but let's go get this guy right away. If the Mets want, I don't know, if they want Corbin Burnes, they don't get Corbin Burnes, so they go get Max Fried, or vice versa. Or, you know, the Red Sox, like we said, need starting pitching. Could that be a situation where you want this guy, but you got to go get this guy? Or, I don't know. I mean, even the Yankees, throw the Yankees into the mix. There's like this conglomerate up here on the northeastern side of things where it's like, sort of a plug and play, grab who you can with the money that you got, and let's move on to the offseason or to spring training.
Yeah. I don't know if there's like a specific spot that just jumps out to me. I'm a little weirded out by the Orioles mentality. It's very odd to me. Why not?
Yeah, like, and throw them in the mix. I mean, right there, you got 5 teams.
Yeah.
For Burnes, you got the Mets, you got the Yankees, Orioles, Red Sox.
Unless the Orioles just go really heavy at Blake Snell, and if you're thinking, you know, if you're gonna have to start like scouting and organizing based on, you know, Mount Baltimore over in left field, like Blake Snell was probably the better fit. I don't know.
This is killing me. Who am I missing?
Where?
I said you've got 5 teams for Burnes. Red Sox, just in this hypothetical like easternly quadrant conglomerate. You got the Red Sox, Yankees, Mets, Orioles. Wasn't there another?
I don't think we're going to include the Phillies or Blue Jays.
No. Maybe it was just 4. I said 5. I guess 4. But yeah, I mean, right there. And yeah, based on like payroll and all that, it's sort of assumed that those teams are going to be in the mix anyway. But again, it's going to be, I really do think it's going to be just another offseason of like, oh, this team missed out on such and such. They're going to scoop this guy up right away. And there's some good options.
I could see a surprise team coming in for one big splash and just stealing, because you know there's always one team that kind of just like it disappoints us a little bit. I could see like a Twins or a Tigers coming in just being like, I'll take that. You know what I mean? And I do think the Tigers are going to surprise you this offseason. I think they have a good core to start, you know, pushing the chips in a little bit more. I feel like AJ Hinch really has a good heartbeat, you know, a good pulse, finger on the pulse for that. So I could see them starting to poke around a little bit.
Yeah, I could see AJ Hinch having a nice little lunch on a cool, crisp day at the local pizza shop. I don't know where they go in Detroit. Isn't Detroit big into pizza?
I don't think so.
Well,
Chicago.
No. Detroit. Well, it's not really pizza, but Detroit, isn't that where Little Caesars is HQ is at? That's not
Tough.
pizza. I know.
Tough.
Right? Tell me, am I right? Is HQ in Detroit?
Why would I know that?
I don't know. Anyway. All right, closing the book. Mike Shildt. Do you like this move? 2-year contract extension?
Yes.
I love it.
I'm a Mike Shildt guy. I really I didn't like the treatment he got in St. Louis. I thought it was silly. I thought it was weird. And I like what he did with the club. I like the fit. I think if you're the Padres, you're like, you know, we got a good thing going. Let's just kind of build off of that. Keep it going. You had the World Series champs coming out saying you were the best team that they faced in all the postseason. I concur. I think the Padres are right there. They're right there in a good spot to run it back. Good little show of force. Build something. Create something. Stop with this 1 year narrative, take 2 steps back kind of thing. Keep it rolling.
Mookie Betts to the infield. It's reported that Dodgers are bringing him back. Shout out Murray in the chat. Confirmed on Wikipedia. Little Caesars Pizza HQ is in Detroit. I thought so. Now, whether or not we want to classify,
it's a trustworthy source.
Whether like Michael Scott says, it's the greatest source of information because you can literally find anything about everything. Whether or not you want to classify Little Caesars Pizza, that's not up to me. But you know, if that's
that was Paige's first job. She worked at like different locations all the way through college.
I had it like one time in the last 5 years, and I didn't hate it. That's all I'll say.
You know what? I think Little Caesars gets the job done in a pinch
on a budget.
Helps out a lot of families. You gotta appreciate that. They're doing good work out there for the communities.
So book it. You're gonna see a leaked photo this offseason. AJ Hinch with Corbin Burnes at the local Little Caesars. There you go.
Just wanted to show off our city a little bit.
Show you the culture, everything. All this could be yours, Corbin. In fact, you could own one of these franchises. If
after this, we're going to go take a walk through the Ford assembly line and show you what we do here.
Mookie Betts, the infield. Dodgers said, that's great that you're an outfielder now, but we're bringing you back in 2025. Apparently, Mookie's the guy that's behind it. Apparently, I read that he said he wants, like, he's the leading force behind this decision. So, you know, good for him. It was interesting. He said he felt the toll that it took on his body was greater in the outfield than in the infield.
I could see that.
Which, yeah, I could see both sides.
I can see both sides. I think this is a little smoke and mirrors. I think I'm not fully certain that Juan Soto wants to play left field. And I think it creates a little bit of a conversation opening, at least, saying Mookie's willing to move into the infield. And it's not, hey, we're willing to do this for Soto. It's a preemptive, hey, he's done this before. We're going to bring him back. I think
Smart.
It also maybe lowers the price a little bit on Willy Adames. You know, if the rest of the league is saying, well, you know, this price tag is going to have to be met for Willy Adames because, you know, the Dodgers obviously need a shortstop. They're going to go, well, now that lessens that a little bit. So there's a little, like, there's some showmanship going on.
Maybe
I don't see it.
Shows Gavin Lux to the door.
Definitely shows Gavin Lux to the door. I think
Kinda
Gavin
put an
Lux,
end to that chapter.
Yeah, I think it's time to, you know, move him with a piece somewhere. You know, it does a little bit. I don't see it. I don't think it makes sense. I think he should stay in right.
AJ says not good pizza, but pizza.
Yeah.
Agreed. Kyle Hendricks, just super quick here, run through these last few items. Kyle Hendricks has agreed to a 1 year, $2.5 million deal with the Angels. There's going to be a bunch of these like super small, rather insignificant deals popping up, but this was just one that I saw pulling my notes together, so I wanted to make sure we include it. The Chicago Cub era has come to a close for Kyle Hendricks.
Last remaining World Series. Last remaining guy on that team.
Yes.
Ian Happ wasn't there yet, right?
No. Nope.
I think it is. I'm going to say yes.
Happ was 17.
I'm going to say yes.
2017.
He's 17 years old.
Maybe he was 17. I don't know how old Ian Happ is.
Cool. Got to do what you got to do, you know. Angels, you got to get innings from someone, you know.
Shohei Ohtani underwent, I should say, shoulder surgery on Tuesday to repair the labrum tear from Game 2 of the World Series. Says he is expected to be ready for spring training. So not really anything news related, but it just goes to show you the severity, I guess you could say, of that little incident. Because we were there for a while, we were sort of unsure, like, oh, it's just a dislocation, blah, blah, blah. Turns out it was a labrum tear. And
impressive they stuck it out. And still took some daddy hacks.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't come up with anything, but...
No, I mean, not really controlled. Yeah, not controlled swings. He wasn't trying to poke it to left field, but... See, and that's my thing, too, is that it's like, you know, it's torn. Let it eat. You're not going to make it worse. You're still going to have this surgery, you know? That's fair. I like it. Lastly here, Skip Schumaker, as expected, obviously no longer with the Marlins. We've known that. But a little bit of a surprise. Heading to the front office in Texas. I think this is weird. I think it's weird. Not as... I love it for the Rangers. I love it for baseball. I love former players getting into the front office. Yep. We saw what Chris Young has been able to do there. I'm curious on, like, you made such a impressive impact on managing a team, and then you didn't really wait it out. Setting himself up for when Bochy gets out of town. You think? Bochy, you got to imagine Boch doesn't have many more years left in the tank. It's true. He moves awfully slow on those mound visits. The only reason I thought it was like sort of surprising though is because I just feel like you maybe could have just jumped. I would imagine that somebody would have wanted your services right away. It must just be maybe he wants to be in that organization. That's the only explanation. If that's ultimately the end goal is to manage again. Could be a family conversation, you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's you traveled so much as a player, now you're traveling just as much as a manager. Maybe you get a front office role and stay home for a year or two. Maybe you're right. That's fair. Just clearing the way. But I just thought it was interesting. I thought he did well. I thought he was mistreated there. I think everyone sees the Miami BS written all over it. I just would have liked to seen him go somewhere. But it is what it is. He'll be back. I think he'll be back in the dugout at some point. He'll be back, and we'll be back next... What is today? Today's Thursday. We'll be back Monday. I think for now, at least, that's the plan this offseason. Monday, Thursdays. Yep. So we will hopefully have some more headlines, some more player news to discuss. Or we'll have, I think, maybe an award or two possibly discuss. I think not that it really matters, but the Platinum Award, I think, is tomorrow, actually. Which, great for Major League Baseball. Dropping a Platinum Award on a Friday night. Love that. This is such a botched thing. Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, hopefully we'll have some more things to discuss with you guys Monday. But if not, we'll bring something to talk about. Always send us ideas. Send it if you want us to talk more about. If you want us to do a little bit of a deep dive into Little Caesars pizza, is it actual real pizza? Let us know. Hit us up in the comments, in the DMs. I'll buy one and we'll do research right here live. I would love that. It's gonna if you're new to the show, it gets weird. The more the off season progresses, the weirder it gets. So just buckle up. Just prepare yourselves. But that's all I got. Don't go chasing curveballs, folks. We love you all, and as always, looking forward to talking more baseball with you guys soon. Until next time, stay filthy.